there's something very wrong. I said, I'm really swollen and I don't feel good and I'm really short of breath and I feel like I'm gonna pass out. And so there were a plethora of tests that I went through those years. And everybody would say, there's nothing wrong. So as a young adult, I was very active and on the go all the time. Teaching was very much my passion, and managed a classroom of 20 to 25 children on a daily basis. In 2003, I was teaching in a public school, and I started having these shortness of breath attacks, and went to several doctors after that who said, you're having anxiety attacks. And as time went on, those attacks, so to call it, became more and more constant. Fast forward to I get married, and as I was pregnant with my first child in 2006, there was a day where I had headaches and I was really short of breath, and I called my husband and he took me right to the doctor's office, to the hospital. They started running some tests and they said, well, we believe that she has preeclampsia. And my husband and I looked at the doctor and said, well, she's only 34 weeks pregnant. How long are we going to be here? And he said, until she has this baby. 2 days after being in the hospital, my water spontaneously broke and Marin was born. Blood levels and all of those things returned to normal. The thing that didn't change was the shortness of breath and the palpitations. And I remember the doctor said, you've been through a lot. He handed me a prescription for an antidepressant at that point and said, you're anxious, you're nervous, you're a new mom, take this, you'll be fine. I never was fine. It continued to get worse. I worked between my first and between the birth of my first and second. But what happened with that is I took a leave of absence from the position because the symptoms were so severe. Left my students. Never went back. Yes, so this went on for upwards of 16 years. I ended up making an appointment with Dr. Carrie Lange at Ohio Heart. He said, I think you have microvascular disease. I think you have coronary microvascular dysfunction. And I said, what's that? And he said, I've just hired somebody from Los Angeles, and she is here, and she is heading the Women's Heart Center here at Christ Hospital. And I'm going to call her right now, and I think that you should see her. I have one of the best doctors in the city, much less probably the world, in cardiac care, who figured this out in 10 minutes.
One of my areas of research is trying to understand why is it that women with preeclampsia have a higher risk of heart disease, and the question is, could coronary microvascular disease be part of that link? I remember telling her, I believe you, I hear you, and I do think this is related to your heart. Let's now go and prove it. But while we're doing that, we're also going to make you feel better. We're actually going to start treatment, and you can prove everybody wrong that has dismissed you for so many years.
She started first with the beta blocker, which was to slow the heart rate down. I remember taking the beta blocker and saying, oh my gosh, I feel fantastic. I feel great.
I remember her telling me for the first time, I can actually carry my child up the stairs, which is very, it's very powerful because she couldn't do that before.
What wasn't happening was the shortness of breath at rest. And she said, I'm going to refer you to another pulmonologist at Christ Hospital, and he will call you. And she said, but my thought is maybe you have diaphragm dysfunction. So one of the things that Dr. Dama, who is the pulmonologist, said to me is, there's a nerve in your neck. And he said that nerve in your neck controls your diaphragm, and your diaphragm on the right side is severely elevated. You have a diaphragm dysfunction issue. And I walked out of there and I thought, Dr. Quesada nailed it again. There's two major things, and they found it. The whole team. Nobody else has been able to do that. I was able to have a surgery to repair that nerve in my neck that controls the diaphragm out of state.
One day after the surgery, she was working out, and she always wants me to work out with her, like be down there with her. And she just, when she was done, she was crying because she could breathe, and I was just really happy for her.
Almost had my head buried in my knees and thought, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
Now that she's better, we've been able to do a lot more things together that she couldn't do before.
There is someone out there who will be passionate about your care and be passionate about finding the right answer. And ultimately, for me, that was Christ Hospital Women's Heart Center.
Welcome home. I missed you. I hope you feel better. Hearts everywhere then. Mom with the heart, then Mom with the star.